Hey, what's up guys? My name is Cameron Gallagher and today we're talking inspiration, so let's get into it. So one of the hardest things, especially right now with everything going on, is finding inspiration when it comes to making your films, making your content, whatever it may be. Obviously in particular we're talking about films here, but one of the hardest things is to become inspired and sort of get in a mindset to create something different and something new, something fresh, but also to create something that's relatable. Because sometimes people are like, oh, just go out there and create something new and different. But sometimes thinking outside of the box ends up making a little bit too much room for creativity, or you end up just making something bad and not what you want. And this is where inspiration comes in, because inspiration is great to give us a stepping stone to sort of jump off of and begin our creative process, but begin a creative process maybe in a certain mindset. So there are a couple ways I like to get myself in this mindset, and a few things I wanted to show you guys about how I do this, how I go about doing this, and sort of where it can hopefully take me. So I have some physical stuff I'm going to show you, but first let's talk digital. One of my favorite ways to get inspired is actually to go on Vimeo and just watch anything. So Vimeo has everything broken up into like experimental or narrative, stuff like that. I like to go to the narrative section and look for just narrative shorts, whether they're horror or thriller or drama or whatever. Just watch shorts on there and just get inspired. The stuff on Vimeo, especially the staff picks, are incredible. Of course, Vimeo is great because the quality is awesome compared to like YouTube, and it just has a much better sort of content base. People are usually making more films and shorts and interesting stuff on there, unlike YouTube where it's more like content now and just sort of like, you know, whatever YouTube is. Now, if you want a more curated look at Vimeo, of course, the staff picks are a great look at sort of what's big, what's hot, what's doing well, and what was sort of, you know, staff picked. But another great place is actually Short of the Week. Short of the Week is one of the best places to go on there, find a short film. They have tons of different categories. You can even sort it by like genre or like theme, all that kind of stuff. They have a ton of great short films, and every single one of those is awesome and it always gets me inspired because it gets me to think about something. Even if I'm writing a horror film, I can watch a drama and maybe take pieces of that and put it in my own. That's the thing to keep in mind, is that the best artists use other things and take them and reform it to something else and create something new. So by watching these shorts, it just gets me in the mode, it gets me in the zone, and it gets me thinking about something different. Now, of course, there's watching digital movies, so being on Netflix or Hulu or on your streaming device or whatever you use to actually watch movies. Of course, watching movies that way is one of the best ways that you can just ingest content, but maybe you're like me and you like physical movies. I like physical movies for a lot of different reasons, and one of them is that you can get more boutique style films and find these very interesting or strange films. Not that these are like hardcore, different, or weird, but a lot of companies are putting out really boutique Blu-rays of films that maybe you've never heard of, and most of them are curated. For instance, Vinegar Syndrome, again, I'm a huge horror fan, Vinegar Syndrome puts out Blu-rays that are very curated towards weird. Like if you like weird movies that are just like horror and they're old and gems, Vinegar Syndrome is one of my favorite places, along with Arrow. They put out this guy right here, and then also the other one that I do is obviously Shout Factory. They're a little more popular. Finding a boutique Blu-ray shop that puts out the type of Blu-rays or movies that you want to see is really great, and one of the best things about them is that these are all like collector's editions. So they have cool slip covers and they look cool and they're nice artwork with them, and this just again helps me get in the zone of a movie. Maybe I want to make a movie that's like Bloodhook. Not really, but so if I want to make a movie like Bloodhook, I could watch this movie, and of course again it's a nice Blu-ray, something I can really keep, look at. I can watch it several times if I want to use it for inspiration, and I just think having physical media in this sense can be really, really handy. One of my next favorite places to go is magazines, and in particular in my case, the American Cinematographer magazine. This is one of the best magazines out there. If you've never read American Cinematographer, you definitely need to subscribe right now. It's probably the best magazine that it's the only magazine I subscribe to this day. This has so much information on it and gives you so much interesting just info about the cinematography behind certain films and sort of how they do stuff. Obviously Star Wars, and then the 007, and this one's got Bradford Young. And the thing for me is it kind of just gives me inspiration to how to possibly go about shooting things. Like I learned stuff about The Witch, how they shot The Witch with, you know, a taller aspect ratio because they wanted to show off the trees more. And it's like little stuff like that that's just really interesting in these magazines, and I feel like it's really beneficial, and of course it can inspire you to hopefully create something yourself. Now obviously there's tons of different filmmaking magazines, things like that. Again, I'm a visual person. I like this cinematography aspect of it, and you learn a lot from these, but they're also, again, a great source of inspiration. So my next one is one of my favorites, and although I'm not an avid reader, I do love reading comics every once in a while. Now, I'm a huge horror head. I love horror stuff, so these are a little more horror-oriented, but I have like Batman and stuff like that too. And the main thing for me is the artwork in these. Witches is actually by Scott Snyder, and he did some of the Batman comics, and just some of the artwork inside of this is incredible, and you can just see that some of the artwork is really not only inspiring, but it just kind of helps you get in a certain mood. So if I want to be in a certain mood for reading a certain book or writing something, just looking at these can really put me in that mood. Harrow County's another great one if you're into horror. And then I also have Big Trouble in Little China meets Escape from New York. This is just fun because John Carpenter. But comics are a great way to get into a certain mood or a style or a genre and sort of expand and sort of look at different ways that you can move within that genre or whatever, or, you know, cross genres depending. And comics are a great way to ingest stories that maybe couldn't be produced by filmmakers because they're maybe just too much or maybe too little. So there's actually an app on the iPad called Cosmixology. It's through Amazon, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. Basically, you can get as many comics as you want on there. You can subscribe monthly. You can buy them, of course. Of course, there's Apple Books, too, if you're on an iPad, and there's like the Google Play Store has one, too. But comics is a great way to just, again, ingest really awesome content, stuff that couldn't be made or couldn't be produced, or stuff that just has like a niche market. So if I'm looking for a very specific type of story, reading a comic can really put me in a mindset and get me thinking maybe outside of the box. Now, one of the final ways is, of course, listening to music. Now, of course, you can listen to Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you subscribe to, and you can do that digitally, but one of my other favorite ways, in particular when it comes to film scores to get me sort of thinking or use while I'm writing, is actually by using vinyls. I know I'm that guy. So I don't buy vinyls when it comes to like normal albums. Like I'm not gonna go buy a Led Zeppelin album on vinyl just because I can listen to that on my phone. These are collector's edition vinyls, and the cool thing about them is not only are they awesome because they have the film scores, but the artwork and the stuff that's put into these, the work, is just very inspiring itself. The Babadook, which is one of my favorite movies, has this very cool pop-up insert in the center, and again, it's just something that really puts me in a mood where if I'm writing something that maybe is similar to the Babadook, or I want to just be in a mindset like that, again, having the piece, the physical artwork in front of you, as well as then playing that and listening to that, music without lyrics is just awesome to write to in general or come up with ideas with, but having both of them I feel like is just such a cool way to be even that much more inspired, and it's awesome. They're cool collector's editions, they look nice, you can set them somewhere, and they just look good. This is actually an album called Signals from Daniel Davies. Actually, he's the son of Dave Davies, the guitarist from the Kinks, and this album is super good for writing. It's just like kind of this really cool synth wave meets guitar stuff. It's just very ambient, it's really awesome in the background. And again, that's one of the things I love. I buy these from usually Waxworks or Death Waltz. They have tons of different records there. And again, most of them are scores and film scores, so you can use those in the background. You can play those while you're writing or coming up with ideas, and it just, again, gets you in a mindset, gets you inspired, and gets you thinking. Now, the great part for me is that a lot of these are kind of hobbies. I like collecting these records, I like collecting these movies, comics, all that kind of stuff. And the great thing is that they keep me inspired, and they're usually reoccurring. So I can buy new albums, I can buy new movies, I can buy new comics, and each time I do that, I get inspired even much more. Or again, I can always go back and find something to get in a certain mindset, mood, or wherever it may be. So those are just a few ways that hopefully you can get inspired, and maybe some ways to get you thinking about how to get inspired. Let me know down in the comments below what you like to do to get inspired or what you like to look for. I would love to see any recommendations on how to get out there, find some cool stuff, and get making some fun stuff. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.